Afternoon, everybody. Today I want to show you, sorry about that, I want to show you how you can get more stitchable area on your hats without changing the parameters on your machine. First thing we're going to look at, though, is we're going to look at two different types of hats. We're looking at the profile because you need to understand the profile of the hat you're using before you can determine how much more space you can get. Now this is a mid-profile hat, and this is what would be called a high-profile hat. And the profiles are determined by where the break is in the curve, where it breaks to make that curve. Okay, so to help us with that, I brought my handy dandy ruler, and we'll flatten this out. And if you look at this hat, let me just shift this around. If you look at this hat, the break happens even before the 3-inch mark. Be aware that if the hat breaks early, you're going to have some curve distortion happening in your design file, and it may be visually, you may be able to see it visually in your stitch out depending on the type of file you're working with. This other hat, as you can see, the break is at the 3-inch or 3 1/8 space. So this is actually a really good hat to work with when you're trying to get those really tall designs onto your machine. I'm going to stop now so I can set up for the machine. Okay, to continue, no, I am not using a Ricoma machine for this, but it still applies. The principle still applies. First thing I want to show you is that on this machine, I do not even have a cap hoop as an option in my hoop selections. On this machine, I leave it in the hoop default, which is actually the largest hoop span available. And I do not change it, whether I'm working with hats or I'm working with flats or the big sash frame. Again, I'm going to pause. No, actually, I just need to exit. On my screen, oops, sorry. On my screen, you are going to see 4 bars. Those are 4 satin stitch bars. They're all 7 millimeters wide, and they range in size from 2-inch, 2.5 inch, 2 3/4 inch, and 3-inch size. I'm doing that as a demonstration to show you just how much space I can stitch on each of these hats, both the mid-profile and the high-profile. And now, how do we get this set up for our machine? Well, I'm going to use my hat driver, and we all know that our hat drivers stitch our hats upside down. And this particular design file is right side up. So, on your machine, if you're using a machine that has a cap hoop selection, do not select the cat hoop selection. Select a larger frame, a 5x7 or the 8x12, any of the larger frames you have. Make sure that that is your hoop selection. And then go into your settings. And on this machine, it's basic settings. But what you're looking for is you want to flip the design over 180 degrees. So wherever on your machine, that option to rotate or flip the design, go into that, select it, change your degrees from 0 to 180, And when you go back to your screen, the design has now flipped. Okay, one of the other things I did was I set this up with 4 color changes with a stop in between each color change. I did that so that we can do a trace with each part of the element to see where it's going. It's going to start with the 2-inch element, but it's going to trace for the 3-inch element because it is all in one design file and not 4 separate files. So again, I'm going to stop now so that I can put a hat on the machine. Okay, we're now set up to for our hat. Now we're using the mid-profile hat first. Remember, it has a break. It actually starts breaking somewhere around here. But we're going to do this anyways. Remember, I know on the Ricoma EM1010, you only have about a 2 1/4 inch stitch window top to bottom for design files because the hat hoop limits how much area you have available to you for the front of your hat. And you also have an issue with getting it lower on to the bill. Now, just a statement of caution that you don't want to go so low that you catch yourself in this area here where there's extra layers of buckram and seams, and obviously you don't want to hit the metal band on your hoop. So that's why tracing is very important. My machine is set up for needle 1. My tracing dot is available. I'm going to trace, and please watch where the laser goes. We're going to come up to here. That's our 3-inch mark. And my laser comes just above the band, just above that, that extra buckram. Now, I'm going to stop the video here because the next section is going to be our stitch out. Yes, I'm going to video the whole thing, but in editing, I'm going to fast forward that, or speed it up, I should say. Okay, in this next section, we're going to go ahead and completely stitch out the remaining 3 bars. Remember, the next bar is 2.5 inches. The bar after that is 2.75, and then we have a 3-inch bar. I have not done this in advance of this video. I do not know just how far we can stitch on this mid-profile hat, so we're both going to find out together. And please don't be surprised if there's a needle break because we've exceeded what even this hat can accommodate. So once again, I'm going to stop recording here and then restart for the stitch out. looks like we accomplished a full 3-inch bar on our mid-profile hat. Do you see this distortion that's happening here? This is what I want you to be aware of when you're doing your hats. Wherever the break is, you are going to experience some distortion. Now, we're going to do the same 4 bars on the high profile hat. Again, I'm going to stop. So both of our hats stitched our 3-inch bar, and I was a little concerned because I had some distortion on this one up here at the top, and I think I see why that is. I did not have a stabilizer going up that full span of space. So this part of the stitch out did not have the same support as the rest of the stitch out. Now, the only way to prove out whether that's the actual case or not is to do another test, and I'll probably do that again later. The other thing I want you to see is that on this hat, I am a 1/2 inch or less from the seam of the bill of the hat. Even on my mid-profile hat, we started out at the 1/2 inch, but it did migrate itself back up because, again, remember, we're working with a hat that had a break that started breaking somewhere here in the middle. So, what is our end result? Our end result is to show you that you can get closer to the brim of the hat, that you can stitch a taller design file without changing the parameters on your machine. The trick is to set your machine for the largest hoop you have available and to flip your design 180 degrees and trace. I hope you find this helpful. I'm going to stop now and go off to editing. Thank you.